and welcome to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into West Bloomfield Lakers football all throughout the season with their varsity head coach Zach Hilbers. I'm Tyler Keith from Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Really impressive game on Friday night last week against Lake Orion Dragons. 49-41 the final score in favor of the Lakers. Your initial thoughts after that massive win that keeps you in the mix in the OAA-Red?
Well, it was a big win, but it was really just really an excellent high school football game. They kind of had everything, ebbs and flows, back and forth, one team having momentum, the other team gaining it back, and pretty much went right down to the wire.
And it was, from the jump, a back-and-forth game. Lake Orion comes out, they get a score in the first 4.5 minutes of that game, and T.R. Hill had a classic T.R. Hill drive. But then your offense was able to bounce right back against a very tough Lake Orion defense. Particularly, it was impressive on the run game from Josh Tate. He was fantastic on Friday night. Yeah,
Josh, it was the best I've seen him play. He's played really well in stretches, but to see him put together that type of game, I mean, statistically, it was one of the better games we've had from a running back in, I don't know, my 15, 17, 18 years here.
And you want to talk about having complete games. That game through the first half was so back and forth. It's 14-14. The final seconds, you get a couple more tries at a couple of plays at the end, and it's a big mistake. Panic bells going off, I'd imagine, with that interception as time expired.
I mean, maybe it was more like shock. I don't like using the word panic, I guess, because we thought we'd played a good, even, close game, and it had been back and forth, and to give them a kind of a momentum-shifting play like that right before halftime was a little disheartening. But at the same time, like we know we've been in positions like that before. We were in position like that in the first half. We've been in positions like that in other games where we had to fight and claw our way back into it. The difference this time was we were able to get over the top and make the plays and win the game, not just be in the game in the fourth quarter, but win the game in the fourth quarter.
So going through those last couple of plays, there's less than 30 seconds left on the clock. You put Bo Jackson and that offense out, a couple of tries in the air. What was the game plan in that moment in those last couple of plays, especially after the breakdown on that first play where the ball just slid right out of Cam's hand?
Well, after that point, it really was just about getting confidence back to some of our players because we knew that we would need them to make big plays in the second half. And luckily, a lot of them did step up and make the plays. We know scoring in that moment's very unlikely. And obviously, the argument before for kneeling and running the clock out is quite obvious right now, too. But, at that point, we thought we can throw a nice, easy pass, just get our kids' heads in the right spot. It's almost like in basketball, you see a free throw go through the hoop, you think a little bit better about your next shot. Just see us catch the ball and just, run and get your 15, 20 yards. Hopefully just get your mind in the right spot for the second half, I guess.
The Lakers at that point went into the second half down 21-14. They had the ball to start the third period, and Lake Orion's defense showed up, and they were Lake Orion's defense. They go back down the field, and it ends up being 28-14. Yeah. That's where we start to see that question come into play. Is the second half going to be a classic Lakers second half from weeks 1 to 5, or did you guys turn the corner? Obviously you did. You came back down, you scored, you got a huge stop in the special teams. How impressed were you with their response to being down 2 scores that early in the half?
Well, it was huge because I think you could kind of start to see it on some people's faces, like, oh my gosh, we did this, we've done it again, we've been right there, we made a couple mistakes, and now it's like we're playing it from behind. But when that happens, you're always one play away from, kind of switching it back in your favor. So after we scored, when Kylo Dickerson made the tackle, forced the fumble, recovered the fumble all himself, it's probably the biggest play of the game, and it shifted momentum back in our favor, and it was all it took to, I guess, level it. And from that point, we took it and ran.
And from there, it was really a turning point. We saw the offense get that momentum. They got back in the end zone. They tied the game up. Then it starts to kind of go back and forth a little bit more. But what was really impressive from the offense in that game, especially when you're coming back from down 14, was the ability to mix not only the ground game with Josh Tate over 200 yards, but getting really involved in the air, arguably the best game of the season. How was the passing game, in your opinion, against Lake Orion?
Bo was outstanding. He threw for really high completion, and we mentioned the first half we actually had some drops that really cut into his completion percentage. But he was outstanding, just moving in the pocket, avoiding rush, delivering the ball on time, on target. And then, our guys, like I said, made plays when they needed to behind him.
You mentioned it last week, going up against a guy like T.R. Hill. Never an easy task. He's so versatile. He's dynamic in the air. He's excellent on the ground as well. But as he started to get better, and as the game progressed, it seemed like your defense, especially that front seven, were really able to lock him down. That made a huge difference late in the game.
It did, and we kind of set the challenge of like stopping him can really slow down their whole team. They got other really good players too. I mean, their receivers made plays, and they have some other good runners. But we know that he's kind of the one that gets everything going, that stirs their whole offense. So we tried to hit him as much as we could, insert more people into the quarterback run game, and the kids kind of accepted the challenge, and thankfully we're up for it.
Early on in the game, you weren't able to have your special teams in full function. Justin Ward not out there. You couldn't kick extra points. But he comes back in the second half. How huge was it to then have your kicker and have those options to either take a risk and go for two or take those points and try to keep that game kind of in back and forth?
Yeah, it definitely gives you more options, which is good. And, he kicked really well coming back. And we scored a lot in the second half, so we had a lot of chances for extra points and for kickoffs. So it's definitely better having him out there. Yeah.
Lakers coming up with a 49-41 win against Lake Orion last week, setting up for a very interesting final week in the OAA-Red division. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but Coach, you said it last week that the season wasn't far from over after that Clarkston loss. There was a lot of good to be taken away from that. Seemed like a lot of that good came into the fold on Friday against Lake Orion. Your final thoughts from that 49-41 victory?
Really just proud of the kids because, you can say all those things, and even though they're true, to really believe them and take them to heart is difficult when you don't get the results you want. And, a couple league games where we played really good teams close, we just didn't come out on top. And, you're talking about, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, a lot of them do get disheartened and discouraged when, things don't work out their way. So the fact that they, kind of believed in the stuff and believed in each other, I was just, like I said, I was really proud of them.
Lakers taking on Oxford, home finale coming up. An earlier game this week. It's going to be on Thursday at 7 o'clock at the Swamp at West Bloomfield High School. We'll take a break. On the other side, I'll talk to Josh Tate, star of that game last week against Lake Orion from the offensive side, and later on we'll preview that game against the Wildcats coming in. Stay with us. It's This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. From the 40-yard line. Shows his stuff down to the 3-yard line. It's going to be returned up to the 10, to the 15, to the 20. He won't even get there. Ball's out! Here come the West Bloomfield Lakers. It is knocked free, and Kylo Dickerson, the hero, pulls it in.
Live, local, social. Dive into your community with the Splash Live. Coverage of events and exciting developments in the greater West Bloomfield area. Join Tyler Kieft, Kevin McIntosh, and the rest of our staff live out on the street or in our studio. Weekdays live on Comcast Channel 15 or on AT&T at Channel 99. Watch us online too on Facebook at Civic Center TV 15, on YouTube at Civic Center TV, or on our website, civiccentertv.com.
Watch West Bloomfield Lakers football all season long on 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. Join Tyler Kieft and Matt Catoni each week for live, in-depth, and exclusive coverage before, during, and after the big game. It's your local high school football team on the road and in your backyard on your home for West Bloomfield Laker football, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team all throughout the season on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined by senior running back Joshua Tate of the Lakers, who's had a really big season so far in these first 6 games. What's that experience been like for you to kind of take that leading role in this offense in 2024?
It's just been good for me, knowing I can always do these type of things and being able to just show what I can do to other people and, most importantly, proving myself right.
A lot of these expectations for this performance were right on par with what people were really expecting from you last season. And the way things shook out with so many weapons on that offense, you didn't get quite as many touches. So how did last season sort of inform your approach to this season?
I think last season, although it didn't go my way, it opened my eyes a lot and what I need to do better and how I face adversity whenever it comes to me taking a step back in terms of my role, because last year I was really mostly a blocker. So it just gave me a better perspective on what I need to do to be better.
Let's not discount that last season either because, like you said, mostly a blocking running back in 2023. But with the weapons you had in the backfield last season, especially Cam Flowers leading the team in all-purpose yards, those blocks were critical. So how did that also sort of show you a different perspective on the position of running back to make you even more effective now as the senior?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It made me an all-around running back for sure. You know, I was never used to blocking. I was always used to getting the ball. You know, before that, because my sophomore year, I was a littler back, so they didn't trust me out there to block. And, you know, my freshman year, your freshman year, it's all about getting the ball. So, you know, just my junior year, just being a blocker, it kind of just helped me it forced me to be a complete running back.
And a complete running back is exactly what Josh Tate has been in 2024, especially last week, over 200 yards rushing against one of the best rushing defenses in the OAA-Red division. 205 yards on the ground. He had 187 total in 2023. So take us through last week's game, because not only did you surpass your single season yardage in one game, you also had doubled your single season touchdowns from the season in that game against Lake Orion. What was that experience like for you?
That experience was good. You know, coming into that game, I was sick. I woke up that morning with a fever like 102, 103. So that's why, like, when you said I was exasperated, I was really like I really couldn't breathe. So that kind of forced me to it kind of gave me a bigger motivation to just go out there and just like do what I know I can do. So yeah.
We need to get Scottie Pippen on the sideline for him next time if he's going to go out and have a Jordan flu game like that against a team like Lake Orion. And so now that you're bringing that sort of thunder in the backfield to this offense, knowing the kind of weapons this offense has, how has it helped you kind of develop those younger players in the backfield with you, guys like Nate Herbert who are coming up, guys like Devin James who are developing into a really good running back also, and still getting Cam Flowers involved?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. We have some of the best weapons in the state, and as long as we use them correctly, we could be a great force. So yeah.
It's been a run-heavy team, but in the past few weeks, that passing game's really gotten involved too. How do you believe that versatility that you just talked about, the number of weapons we have on this team in West Bloomfield in 2024 and the development of this offense is going to help that offense take that next step going forward?
Well, personally, I believe that we have the best offense in the state. So I feel like once we got our rhythm going in the passing game, like I knew that once everything clicked, we can't be stopped on offense because we have the most weapons. I think we have the best O-line, and I think we have the best receiving core, and I feel like I'm one of the best backs in the state. So I feel like if we all believe that, and if we all believe that we are the best players that we can be when we step on the field, we can't be stopped at all.
Do you think last week was a turning point for this team with its youth and also with the senior leadership to see that you can contend not only in the Red but with some of the best teams in the state?
Yeah, last week was a big eye opener. When we lost to Clarkston, that was the biggest eye opener because it was like if we don't win this next game, as seniors our high school career is over. So. You know, we just took that to heart, and it forced us to be better.
Everybody was better. 199 yards in the air for Bo Jackson, over 200 on the ground for Joshua Tate, and the Lakers put 49 points up against Lake Orion, a team that rarely allowed more than 2 or 3 touchdowns in this 2024 season, let alone last season. Josh, any lasting thoughts before you come into another tough game against another really tough defense, especially in that front 7 against Oxford?
As long as we play like how we did last week, I think we should be good. So yeah. I don't think we need to change anything. I think, well, obviously you need to change some things, but as far as our mentality, I think we should be great.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your rushing season this season and those front 5 you got in front of you. How critical have they been to making this offense take that next step?
I'm nothing without them. I am nothing without them. So it's just like having those group of guys in front of me, blocking for me, protecting me. That's the biggest blessing I could ever ask for.
We talk about the yards, we talk about the touchdowns. No bigger smile than when we bring up that offensive line. That's how you know you got a bona fide playmaker in the backfield in WB. Josh, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. On the other side, the Wildcats are coming to town. Coach Hilbers will rejoin me. We'll preview that game that could have massive implications in the OAA-Red. Stay with us. It's This Week in Laker Football. As the Lakers have the lead, late in the fourth, handoff to Josh Tate, inside, breaks free at the 30, breaks free at the 20, breaks free at the 15. Here he goes! 1, 2, 3, 4, touchdown, Josh Tate!
I'm Greg Flynn, the fire chief here in West Bloomfield. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on your 1 million views on YouTube. Together we share the message of community safety and preparedness, making West Bloomfield a safe and wonderful place to live. My name's Greg Flynn, and I'm proud to be 1 in a million.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into the varsity football team at West Bloomfield High School on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft, alongside head coach Zach Hilbers. The Lakers coming off a 49-41 victory at home last week against Lake Orion. This week, Oxford's coming in, and this sets up for a really interesting situation in the OAA-Red division because Oxford had a couple of impressive wins against Lake Orion and against Rochester Adams, teams that you kind of had back and forth with, 1-1 against those two, but they are a surging team in 2024. What should the fans be looking out for when they see Oxford come in this week?
They're playing really, really well. They're playing, if they win, they can at least share a league title. So they're playing for something, and they're playing really good football. They're always tough, they're always physical, they're always gritty, and right now they got something like 20 kids that started last year that are back starting again this year. So they have experience on their hand too. And that shows in their playbook. They're really kind of expanded it. They're doing more stuff. It's innovative. It's tough. It's really hard to prepare for.
You look at that Oxford roster, the two players that really jump off the page, both defensively and offensively. Luke Johnson, he had 15 tackles last week. On the defensive side, over 100 all-purpose yards. Offensively, that's one of the most dangerous players, probably top 5 most dangerous in this entire division.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think he was last year, too. He ran hard, made a bunch of plays last year. He would hit people. He's just a really, really good player. Yeah.
And then Jack Hendricks, the quarterback on the offensive side, really been leading that Oxford team well. Had a great season in his first as a starter last year, but he's really taken a step forward this year. What's different about Jack Hendricks in 2024?
He's definitely playing with a level of confidence that's really high. You can tell he believes in himself and his teammates. He's a better athlete than I think most people give him credit for. You look at their play-action game, he can extend it with his feet and even hurt you on the ground, running the ball if you let him. So, yeah, he's been good, and, their tight ends are good. They've got a good receiver. They're really a well-balanced team.
And they're coming into this game with a lot to play for. Look, if the Lake Orion and Clarkston game goes in favor of the Dragons and Oxford's able to come out somehow with a win at West Bloomfield on Friday, they are the OAA-Red Division champions. On the other side of that, if it's a West Bloomfield win and it's a Lake Orion win in the Red this week, there's a pretty historic implication to that. It would be a 5-way tie for the division championship. With Stony Creek no longer in this division, there's no possibility for a tiebreaker. What goes through your head thinking about the possibility that every single team in this league is going to share the title?
Yeah, I definitely got a few opinions. I mean, I guess after you start 0-2, it sounds like the best possible scenario that you could think of. But it really is, obviously we got to handle our business to get there, and so does Lake Orion. And Clarkston and Oxford on the other side of it, they're playing for either an outright or a shared league title themselves. So there's a lot at stake on both sides. But it would be pretty poetic, I think, if everybody finished 2-2 with every home team winning every single game, because that's just what the league is. It's really competitive. There's no weaknesses in the schedule. You know what I mean? There's no weeks you can take a period off in practice like during the week. Every team can hurt you. I think Coach Petrito said it last week after they had a real tough loss. He said, if you're not perfect for 4 quarters, you're going to lose. And I think he's right.
The Lakers will take on Oxford on Thursday this week at home, 7 o'clock kickoff at the Swamp. Stay tuned for our coverage on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. More information across our social media as well. Coach, before we wrap things up this week, an impressive win last week against Lake Orion. Got a tough game coming up against Oxford. We've seen this situation play out before. Big confidence coming in off of a huge win against Southfield A&T. Did not translate against Clarkston. How do you change that outcome this week as Oxford comes in for the final home game?
Well, I talked to the kids about it. Like, we haven't won 2 games in a row this year. We've played well during stretches of all sorts of games, but it's on us not to make this a 1-week thing. Don't get too caught up just because you beat Lake Orion. I mean, Oxford's, they don't care. Like, they're coming here, you're going to show up, try to beat us on our senior night. Every game they've played in the league, they won by 1, they won by 3, they lost by 8. So they've been one-possession games. We expect it to be back and forth, and we expect it to be a battle.
All the more reason to keep that discipline in tow and really follow along what you've been coached on all throughout this short week for both of these teams coming in for what's pretty appropriate for the final battle between the OAA-Red division kicking off this Thursday at West Bloomfield High School. Coach, thank you as always.
You got it.
Well, thank you also for tuning in to This Week in Laker Football. Join us on CivicCenterTV.com for more coverage all throughout the season. On behalf of the West Bloomfield High School Athletics Department and our team at Civic Center TV, alongside head coach Zach Hilbers, I'm Tyler Kieft. Thanks for tuning in to This Week in Laker Football.